Hey everyone, this is Unshackled by Shambhavi, and obviously, I'm Shambhavi. I'm really bad with introductions. I get really awkward and I don't know how to do it, how to explain stuff. So I'll get right into it. This is my channel, and I really have been thinking about starting a channel for a while now. And previously, whatever I thought I wanted to do sounded really pretentious, and I didn't start it because I didn't want to come here and copy someone else. I wanted to be here when I have something really important to say, and I feel that that's where I am at now. I want to give out a very specific message through different stories, the stories of my own life, the stories of others, because this keeps coming up in different ways in my life. So now I want to share it, put it in words in a coherent way, and share it with the world. And that's where I'm starting at. This is my first video on the channel. The last two videos have been somewhat of a podcast, and I felt like I am more expressive, more natural when I'm telling a story in front of a camera, even though I'm very shy of camera. So that's what I'm going to do. You might see different formats coming through the channel. That will happen as we go along the journey. So bear with me. It will also become clearer what I am trying to say. My message is a very straightforward message that you need to live your truth. I want to live my truth, and through these stories I want to explore what does that mean, because it's very easy to say that to anybody, right? It's easy to tell that to yourself, be yourself. But what does that even mean? And how do you practice it, in this world which asks you to pretend every step of the way? How do you live your truth? So yeah, let's jump right into it. So today's video is about conflict with the parents, with the set of Desi parents, which is something we all have, regardless of what it looks like, what their words are, what kind of incidences or situations has happened. We all have that problem. So I know it's not a unique problem. The only difference is how we kind of go about it. And today I'm going to talk about the conflict I had with my parents and how I dealt with it. I say that it's not a unique problem because that's a very important thing to say. The problem part is very, very relatable. I found a number of people to relate with, some old, some a little older to me, some a little younger to me, but the problem remains the same. But what I had difficult time was with the solution part of it. The solutions given to me, provided to me, just didn't resonate with me, and it was so difficult to find and figure out what to do. And that was the irony of it. This is a problem that I see everywhere in every family, but somehow I still felt alone. And that's why I feel that this is an important thing to kind of talk about, So right, let's jump into the story. Let's jump into my childhood. So my family is a typical nuclear family. I have a pair of parents. I'm the older child, and I have a younger brother. So my mom got married young, as in she finished her education and she was married off right away, and she never got the chance to explore anything beyond being a homemaker. And while homemaker in itself is a great respected job, we shouldn't be really looking down upon it, but I don't think my mother chose it. She was kind of thrust into it, which is a norm here in India, right? So she got into it. Like she became a homemaker. She had 2 children, and then eventually, when I was in standard 3 or 4, she decided that she wanted to pursue her passion. And what she figured her passion was designing, clothes designing. So she took up education. She was 7-8 months in Mumbai, took a course, found a teacher. She took a course, got good at it. And my mom's biggest advantage was she was extremely talented. And given that we were a small town, she really became one of a kind, because she was a little more than just, like, there were tailors around and they were really good tailors, but she brought the style element to the town, so she could make really interesting things. So anyway, she pursued it, and I'm extremely proud of that. But what that did to us was, when my mom started her business, like she set up her shop, That was when I was in standard 8. My brother was probably in class fifth, fourth or fifth, I would imagine. So she started a business. Now, with two parents working is not a unique issue. It's pretty normal these days, but again, I'll come back to how I felt. That being normal does not invalidate what I went through or felt. So I'm going to speak about that. So, with my parents out of the house, my father was a teacher, so he was busy in the daytime, which was okay because we were also in our own school, so never bothered. That never bothered us. But because my mom had a shop and a fashion shop, it was the most happening time for that shop would be in the evenings. So my parents would go away to the shop. Now we were quite young and we didn't grow up in apartments. We grew up in government quarters, which was individual houses with some courtyard and stuff, and then like identical looking individual houses, and it was amazing in that sense, but very scary for like a person in 8th who would be around what, 13 or 14. It was pretty scary because more often than not we were left to our own devices. There were no adult supervision. My parents used to come back home late. So yeah, the point of this was to tell you that because of circumstances, I never developed any kind of emotional connection with my parents. I mean, I could objectively see that they're my parents. Do feel somewhat safe with them, but beyond that, there was no emotional depth that was created with them. Add to that a couple of more incidences through life. When I was quite young, probably in standard 2nd or 3rd, I was sexually assaulted by my cousin brother, and I brought that up to my mother, and she never did anything about it. Uh, that kind of made me learn to keep quiet in face of issues if I had issues, because I learned that my mom didn't say anything, so she must be right. So I kind of learned that, didn't stopped making any kind of fuss about anything really. And then when I became an adult, I got really angry about it. Why didn't she do anything? And to some extent I can even understand it. She comes from a generation where they were taught to keep quiet about these things, especially if it happened in the family. So my guess would be she must have went through something like that, and this is what she was taught, and she was teaching me that. But while I can let that part go of her not creating a fuss or not making a stand about it, what I couldn't digest was her never checking in on me. I don't think she has never brought that incident up. She has never checked in with me, asked my well-being. So not only did I not have any kind of emotional connection to my parents quite early on, unfortunately, because of circumstances and some of their actions, I learned not to trust them. So I basically grew quite independent, which is relevant in the future, because once I was an adult, I didn't know what to do with life, right, after school. And till this point, I've only followed either what my parents have asked me to or what my peer mates have been doing. And after class 12, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So my father suggested law. And because I didn't have any other clarity, I went with it. It sounded interesting. I was like, it's better to have something to do than have nothing to do. That's what I did. And then as an alternative, my father also suggested this big institute in Delhi called Jawaharlal Nehru University, which had a great reputation back in the day. And he also asked me to give an exam. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I didn't make it through CLAT, which is the entrance exam in India for law, to get into a good law school. But I was able to get into JNU, and I did. I really cherish my college days, but to this day, I don't know why was I there. Because while I made amazing memories with people there, when it comes to the education part of it, I kind of passed my time there. Like, my potential was quite wasted there. It's not any reflection on the courses offered there. It's just how lost I was. And after after college, after post graduation, I stretched it up to post graduation, by the way, and then everybody had something to do. A chunk of people from my class were going off in private jobs. A chunk of people in my class were pursuing further studies to able to come to a point of becoming perhaps a teacher in the language, or and then there were also another chunk of uh, my classmates who were going on scholarships to France and francophone countries. I did graduation and post graduation in French language, so all of it looked really good, and they were all hustling for it, and it was really scary. I for the life of me, I don't know why, but I just couldn't take a step in any of these directions, right? I got to hear a lot of stuff from friends, from my ex-boyfriend at the time, and everybody else, but I was just so lost. I didn't know what to do about it, and I had been feeling that for a while now, but it came to a point where it was stopping me from functioning. So fortunately, my cousin brother, he was back from US, and he was into startup scene. So he asked me if I wanted to join, and I did. That was the turning point in my life, because through that experience of startup, I was able to explore what my strengths and weaknesses are, and kind of go in the direction. And more importantly, I finally found a person that I enjoyed, not just working with, but just kind of in general. This kind of enjoyment I've never gotten from other people. More than enjoyment, it was just I was pushed to be better, not because they needed something from me, but because I needed to be better, and I was able to let go of a lot of these facades and filters that I put on through all these years, and I was able to kind of let go. And that was something mind-blowing for me. I have never done that, and I would, like, in hindsight, I know the reason why I was feeling so lost was because of that, because I was pretending to be all of these other people, this people-pleasing person, making sure everybody else is happy, following through something because I didn't want to make them feel bad. I did all sorts of stupid stuff to kind of please other people, which I can't even fathom today, but I did it. But I think that is the time where I actually started living my life. And the irony is, I felt the most alive in that time, and somehow people around me didn't like it. They were all very, very against it. I received the most pushback in that time about this person with whom I feel really alive, So this is where problems with my parents started. Initially they were all for it because they felt like, okay, because I'm working with a family member, I'll be closer to the family, blah, 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 blah. But this was a very demanding job. It didn't, I think my parents, especially my mother, she expected that we'll be dilly-dallying, because as talented as she is, she has a work ethic that I don't approve of. So, and it's not her skill. Her skill set lies in the talent part of it, the actual designing part of it. I think if I had the sense back then, I would have told them to hire someone to run the business and do the designing part herself. But she decided to do everything by herself. Anywho, that's a different conversation, different video. But I think she figured it will be like that. I can do whenever, I can work when I want. I don't want to work, I'll not work. And that's kind of misconception that people have about people who own their business. For the most part, anybody who is really committed to the process, they are far less free than people in jobs, because with job you have a very set duty, and because it's not your own business, you can go sleep in the night, because if it doesn't get done, you are not thinking of the impact it will have, right? And with jobs, it's assumed that the business is somewhat settled. But if you're starting a business, and it could be anything, it could be a YouTube channel, you can't really take vacations when you want and how you want. There's a certain commitment you bring to the business that you have to do, and that has to be decided by you. But my point is, it's not a vacation by any stretch of imagination, especially not initially, maybe eventually. So that point anyhow. And for some odd reason, because I was letting go of my filters, I think it didn't sit right with my parents, and they didn't like it, and they started fighting back with me. So since I left my home in 2012, I left for college in 2012. And I think the moment I left my home, it stopped being my home. It started becoming my parents' home. And for some reason, I never wanted to go back. I mean, yeah, vacations, yeah, I want to meet them, but I didn't want to stay with them more than 10 days because that's the year of it, you know? That's the limit I could spend the time with them. And I didn't understand why. Because, this is where what I was saying earlier comes into the picture, that the problem is not unique. Anybody from my generation, maybe one, like I know one person in my life who is an exception to this rule, but for the most part, the people that I know, they do not like going home because they don't really see eye to eye with their parents. With some, there is still a level of respect that they have for each other, so it's more of a relationship of understanding than anything else. But with some, it's an outright control, push and pull, which is what I felt in my relationship with my parents, where all these years when they left us alone at home, I learned to lie to them to kind of keep the peace. So they'll come home, they'll ask, did you study? I'll say yes. They'll never come and check how much I studied, what I studied. They kind of believed it. And initially I used to feel so smart, I felt like, oh, I can't, these people, these are adults and they are fooled by my actions. But later on as an adult, now, I just realized that they didn't really care. If they did, they would have checked. Because the same kind of lies when I said in context of things they didn't like, they dug deep. They went deep into it. They were like, okay, you're lying about this, blah, 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 which was very bizarre to me. I'm like, why did you see it before? Anywho, I'm just digressing. So basically, it kept getting worse and worse. We really tried, I remember I was doing the startup scene from 2018. It was like 2 years, and then I took a break, and then I got a job in a big company. But I was very resistant to them then. Like they were like, no, don't do this. And for some odd reason, they developed this hatred for the person that I was working with, my cousin brother. So they were really adamantly against it. And for them, I am now almost close to 30. For them, I should have been married by 26. Like as soon as I finished my college, my mom was like, figure you do whatever, you get a job and whatever, you settle down and you start looking for a partner, you should get married. And for her, marriage is, that's what she knows. So marriage is just a union, and you don't look at the compatibility and other stuff, not the real life compatibility. The astrological compatibility they're all for. So you look for compatibility in sense of status, if they are also the same caste as I am. The money, they have to make more money than me. Looks, they have to be taller than me. I'm quite tall myself, so they have to be taller than me. Also fairer than me. All these kinds of superficial stuff she's stuck on. It's annoying, but I know why she's stuck there, because that's what she has been taught. Anywho, I wasn't ready for marriage. I still am not, I still feel like I'm too young. I don't want to get married for the heck of it. I would like to get to know my partner, spend some time with them, and figure out if I really want to spend time with them. And if I never reach that point, that's okay with me. I'll never marry. I can be in a long-term relationship with someone without having to marry them. Marriage is a social thing. Neither am I against nor am for. I think it should be done out of choice, not out of necessity. That's all I'm going to say about that at the moment. But anywho, my mother was very, very persistent. So it was an amalgamation of a lot of things. She didn't approve what I worked. She didn't approve the person I worked with. She didn't like that I wasn't getting married, or I was trying to dodge that thing. So it was a culmination of a lot of things. And the more I pushed back, the more mean she became. She started saying stuff that was very hurtful. I didn't expect her to say those things. I knew that she's upset. I knew that she doesn't like what I'm doing. But I've never heard my mother especially saying anything that mean to me. And it's not something I'm going to say on the camera, but just, yeah, it was quite a hurtful day. And more than her, I was more hurt by my own father, who never took a stand for me. Anywho, so 2 years back, it kind of got to the peak of it. My mom was extremely upset with me. She was like, if you don't come home right now, you can leave. I was living with my Masi at the time. She was like, if you don't come home right now, you leave this house right now, you cut contact with everybody in the family. And this is the nicest way I can say that. She was quite mean about that. So you have to understand, by this point I have genuinely tried everything. I had tried manipulating them, blackmailing them, begging them, trying to make them understand in a logical way. But that was a cycle that happened every 6 months. I had to come back and explain the same thing again and again and again. And it was frustrating. They were never satisfied. And it looked like they'll never be. They were fully ignoring what I was saying, what I wanted. They were very, very hell-bent on only pushing what they wanted me to do. And with all these things, all these actions that I saw in them, the only thing I figured out from that is they were happy with me. They were showering me with love as long as I was doing what they were asking me to do, as long as I was pretending to be this person that was convenient for them. But the moment I started speaking up, the moment I started speaking my truth, bit by bit, they got upset. And it was the most confusing time in my life, because I was like, if this feels right to me, how can I have so much of, resistance from outside? And I was extremely confused. Even in spite of what the world has told me, I have always wanted, a family. I envisioned living with my, not literally living with them, but having great bond with my parents, having this really loving and understanding relationship with them. And for all these years, with that expectation, I was trying to mend situation, when in reality, unfortunately, my parents didn't want the same thing I wanted. It's an absolute heartbreaking reality that I've already accepted. But the problem was, bit by bit, I started speaking up. It didn't happen in a fortnight, but this bit by bit that I was speaking up about, they were somehow not okay with it, and they started pushing back. And it got to a point where I had to choose. There were only two ways in front of me, and I was just so upset. I still remember, it makes me want to cry even today. I only had two options, because till that time, the other family members, extended family members, were somewhat not taking side. But now, because of the poison my mother was spewing and the ruckus she was creating, because everybody is taught to keep the peace, they were trying to ironically tell me that I should make an adjustment, because they must have made adjustments like this through their life, so they thought that's the normal. Whatever. I wasn't just okay with it. I wanted that relationship to be real. I didn't want to hide from my parents. I didn't want to lie to them every step of the way. What kind of relationship is that, where I'm only talking to them, telling them, okay, this is what I ate in the day, and I'm out with someone, I'm dating someone, and I have to tell them, okay, I'm out with a friend, or I'm not out at all. What kind of relationship was that? I didn't want that. I wanted a much closer relationship, really. I wanted a family, basically. So my choices were only two. One was to either give in and wear that pretense for life. Pretend. Because the only way they'll be happy with me is by me putting on that filters, putting on that facade or costume, whatever you want to call it, wearing that character, playing that character for life. That was the only way they will be happy with me, and they will keep supporting me. And the other way was cut them out. Not literally don't talk to them, but let go of the expectation and be okay with the fact that you might end up alone. You'll receive no support from your family for any of your decisions. You will be on your own. In the truest of sense, you don't have anybody to fall back to. Nothing. And unfortunately, me abandoning my parents will make me the villain in all circles. I needed to accept that fact as well. And I was just so done with it. I don't know where did I get that strength for? I was like, I don't want this kind of support, which is so conditional. What I wanted was support, yes, but it was a support done because you are part of a community, because you want this person to do better in life. You want to be there for them, not because it's an obligation, not because they make you happy. You want to do it because you want to do it. That's the right thing to do. So this kind of support that they were offering in return of me being a certain kind of person was not okay with me, and I decided to kind of let all those expectations go and stand for myself. Look, I didn't cut off my parents. I still, to this day, talk to them. Not in the way I would want, but I'm still in touch with them. I have not left them entirely because I don't want to. I don't think for me that's the solution. I think in future when I would want to change the way things work in this family. But that's a little bit in the future. Right now, what I did understand out of this was they didn't change. They are still those people with the same sort of expectations. I am just a retirement plan for them. Actually, I am not the retirement plan, it's my brother. I am the girl in the family, so I'm the reputation. If I'm not married on time, if I don't have children on time, or if I do things that is not socially accepted, it's reflected on them for some odd reason. Bullshit thing, don't get me started on that. But because of that relationship is very, very conditional right now and not something I want. So I have created a boundary where I'll be talking to you. I don't invest in them emotionally at the moment. But I digress. What I was trying to say was that, they didn't really change. What changed was me. I realized that by being this particular version of person that they want me to, nobody is really happy. I mean, I am not happy. I felt like by making them happy, by making them say I can do that kind of compromise and everything will be fine. It was not fine because they are driven by their insecurities and their ego, even by me pretending to be that person. But because I'm pretending, I cannot be that all the time. That's not who I really am. So I will crack. And in those cracks, they create a lot of ruckus. They are not happy. So clearly neither they are happy, neither I am happy. It's an illusion of happiness, which is basically comfortable for them, because otherwise they'll also have to step up, take accountability and be themselves, which is very difficult to do. So they're not going to do that. But the only thing I realized was right now I'm in the conflict that I was scared of previously, right? My mother is unhappy with me. She has been mean to me. She has shouted stuff. She has made up stories about me and told people. She has like a lot of that shit has gone around, which is what I was scared of previously, and which is why I always kept my mouth shut and I pretended to be this person. But somehow, even when that is happening right now, even in that kind of conflict, it's just such a relief to be myself with them, such a freedom to be myself with them, that I'm able to, somehow now, because we are taught to put our parents at a pedestal, yeah. They are somehow more human to me. I'm still upset with them. I still hold them accountable for a lot of stuff. But at the same time, it's not that much of a black and white to me. I also look at them as people. And with this kind of dynamic with me, it's been 2 years now since I had taken that decision, and I've still not budged. There are still things that I know I cannot compromise on, and I don't. And every time that happens, every time I have to stand up for myself, because it's a process, not a one-time thing, it makes me feel it gives me a lot of discomfort, because the part of me that wants to please everybody is trying to get out of me. But man, even in the conflict that this is, I feel so free. And even the conflict is not bothering me right now, I somehow in this moment know it will get better. If I have that faith in myself, this is not even to do with them. Like I said, they have not changed at all. But I look at world differently. I know what I want, and I also know that I can get what I want. So by basically deciding to say my truth, suddenly this fight of saying what is important to me in this relationship and making sure that I hold people accountable and things are done in a way that doesn't make me feel invisible has made a hell lot of difference. Fuck this it was mind blowing, and I kept wondering, why didn't I do this before? Because it was so freeing. Now I'm not scared. Whenever the call comes, I can pick it up and say what I feel without, because I'm not scared of if they're going to scold me anymore. I'm not scared if they're not going to be happy, because suddenly that's not the center of the universe. Suddenly what is important is what is right, what feels right in this moment, that needs to be said or done. Basically, if I have to say in one word, one sentence, I'm sorry, what I realized is staying in my essence and at conflict with the world is freedom, which is far better than pretending. Because pretending to be someone is a self-inflicted prison, and I never want to be back there anymore. I want to stay in my essence, because suddenly I know conflict, some ruckus is not a bad thing. Somehow we are taught that, but it's not a bad thing. If you're really in your essence and conflict comes out of that, it's not gonna weigh you down. It's actually really freeing. It's freedom for me, and that's what I was. That's exactly what I'm trying to say with this video. My point was not to give you do this, you do that, you do that. My point is only for you to figure out what your essence is. If you feel that this needs to be done in this relationship, all I'm imploring you to do is trust that instinct and then follow through it, because everything else will fall into place. Now my parents used to be really mean to me. Now they have, like, initially they were not ready to adjust even a little bit, but now bit by bit they have started adjusting themselves to me. And that's what you need to do. Don't be scared of abandonment. I know it's a difficult thing to say and do, but yeah, you need to, if you are feeling as miserable as I felt then, like by pretending to be this person and yet you're not happy, then why are you doing that? Figure out your essence, be in that, and see how freeing it is, and forget about conflict is bad and it's all bullshit. Don't listen to these noises. Do what your instinct is telling you to do. That is all for today. Thank you.